Hello everyone, welcome back to Once Upon a Time series, and this is the second episode that we are actually conducting for the celebration of this special month, this International Podcast Day celebration, which will be on 30th of September. So till then, let's see how many episodes we can cover. Today's episode is specially dedicated to Sir Otto Loewi. He was a great scientist, and he has wonderful, significant contributions in the field of pharmacology, especially in the field of neurohumoral transmission. So, no more delays, let's begin the talk. Welcome all to his Pharmacology Difficult podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Radhika Vijay, MBBS MD, Pharmacology, and this is the audio hub to get the best simplified basic tips, strategies, methods, and lots of ideas to learn better, understand better, and make your concepts crystal clear. If you really find, and if there's a question hovering in your minds, is pharmacology difficult? Lend your ears for a while and let in the magic of knowledge. So, what is the story of Sir Otto Loewi? Well, once upon a time in around 1920s, that is, to be a little more specific, I would say around 1921, the researchers of Sir Otto Loewi, they held great importance. He was the primary person or scientist to provide evidence that certain chemical agents were released on this excitation or stimulation of nerves, and hence they were nothing but chemical mediators for the nerve impulses. Well, it was all proved via an experiment about frog hearts. Yes, the experiment that he conducted was on the frog hearts. For the experiment, 2 frog hearts, they were considered. The first one was the donor perfused heart of the frog, and the second one or the other one was the recipient perfused heart. Now, let me give you an explanation, some details of the experiment. The vagus nerve of donor heart was excited, and that allowed the perfusion fluid to flow towards the second, that is, recipient heart of the other frog. The second frog was in fact the test or the experimental object. Now, within due course of time, that is within some time, the response of the recipient heart was same as that of the first heart, that is the donor heart. So what do we infer from this particular experiment? We infer that a chemical substance flowed from the first heart to the second heart and reduced its pace, decreased the heartbeat or the functioning of the heart. Well, all this observation was made by Sir Otto Loewi, who referred this chemical substance as vagus stuff. Capital VAGUS STOFF. The synonym can be something like vagus substance in common language. Another term that was used was parasympathene. I repeat, another term that was used for vagus stuff was parasympathene. Now, Loewi was joined by the scientist Navratil, and the chemical was established and identified to be acetylcholine. This was one of the experiments by Sir Otto Loewi. Now, contrary to this discovery by Sir Otto Loewi, Loewi is also credited to have discovered a stimulatory chemical substance which flowed from the donor heart during the summertime. Now, I'm sure you might have noticed, why am I so specifically calling about the season summertime here? Well, we have an explanation to this also. What happens is, in summers, the sympathetic fibers of the vagus nerve, and you should know that vagus nerve is actually a mixed nerve in the frog. So the sympathetic fibers of this particular vagus nerve, their action is more significant and dominant over the inhibitory fibers of the same nerve. That's clear, no doubts about it. So what happens is, an acceleratory chemical substance which is quite similar as epinephrine. It is released in the perfusion fluid during the summertime, and due to its acceleratory action, it was termed by Sir Otto Loewi as Accelerantstoff. Wow, it's a nice term. When we hear of Vagus-Stoff, then the opposite term is Accelerantstoff. This is so interesting, right? Now later, in around early 1930s, two scientists, namely Feldberg and Keraj, they further experimented and supported the fact that the Vagus-Stoff in heart of the frog was equivalent to acetylcholine in the mammals. And during the same time of the Loewi experiment, more experiments were done by two scientists, namely Cannon and Erdel. What did they do? They excited the sympathetic nerve in the liver, and then some epinephrine-like chemical substance was released, which could accelerate or increase the blood pressure and the heart rate. That is, both were accelerated. And later, more and more experimentation further established and supported the fact that the chemical mediator was released from stimulation of sympathetic nerves at the synapse. Cannon termed this substance as sympathine. That is, we can say it's a kind of an opposite to parasympathine. Yes. So Cannon termed this chemical substance as sympathine. And sympathine had a lot of similarities to epinephrine, but it was not same as epinephrine. It had a lot of similarities to epinephrine, but there were few remarkable differences also. Now next, I will be diving deep about the chemical nature of sympathine. Now earlier too, the two scientists, namely Barger and Dale, they injected sympathomimetic primary amines and not epinephrine or secondary amines to reproduce the excitation of the sympathetic nerves. Yes, their experimentation consisted of this particular act of injection of sympathomimetic primary amines. Again, I'm repeating, they were not secondary amines, nothing like epinephrine or secondary amines. They only injected the sympathomimetic primary amines to reproduce the excitation of the sympathetic nerves. And from today's knowledge about all these chemical mediators, we all know that demethylated epinephrine is what? Any guesses? Yes, it's norepinephrine. So sympathine, yes, it could be primary amine norepinephrine. But exact and apt evidences to support this statement were not found anywhere during that time or earlier. But later, though many experiments and chemical assays were done to establish the true core identity of sympathomimetic amines. Now, very good effort was made by one of the scientists. His name was Sir von Euler in late 1940s. Now, what did he do? He established the identity of norepinephrine remarkably and undoubtedly with the experimentation from the bovine splenic nerve extracts. And with our current knowledge about autonomic nervous system, all things that I have storytelled so far, they aptly and nicely match, and they seem quite relevant. Let's come on to relevantly connect the story-told historical aspect with the current aspect. Now, from the current knowledge, we all know that acetylcholine is the main chemical neurotransmitter in the postganglionic parasympathetic nerve fibers and few postganglionic sympathetic fibers also. Acetylcholine is also a mediator at certain places like preganglionic fibers of both sympathetic and parasympathetic divisions of autonomic nervous system. And some central nervous system neurons, there also acetylcholine is a very good neurotransmitter. And it is also a good neurotransmitter in the motor nerve fibers supplying the skeletal muscular tissue. That's all about acetylcholine innervation. On the other hand, norepinephrine is the main chemical neurotransmitter in the postganglionic sympathetic nerve fibers, and it is generally released when the sympathetic system or adrenergic system is stimulated. And you all know that precursor of norepinephrine, that is dopamine, and the N-methylated derivative of norepinephrine is epinephrine. Both dopamine and epinephrine, they are also significant chemical neurotransmitters in the central nervous system. So that proves a good matching and relevance of the historical aspect with the current aspect. Whatever experimentation was done, proved, and supported by further experimentations, etc., etc. So that was all the historical tale of today's Once Upon a Time series. What next? Well, today's episode was actually mainly dedicated to Sir Otto Loewi. So let's get to know a few more facts about Sir Otto Loewi. Sir Otto Loewi was a German-born pharmacologist and psychobiologist. His main discoveries were of acetylcholine as endogenous neurotransmitter. He was awarded Nobel Prize in 1936 along with Sir Henry Hallett Dale in the subjects physiology or medicine. And it would be a great general knowledge to know that Sir Henry Hallett Dale was kind of a lifelong friend and a great motivator to Sir Otto Loewi in almost all of the neurotransmitter experiments. Yes, they both were co-researchers for a few months in 1900s in the Ernest Starling Laboratory at University College, London. Well, nice general knowledge to know about so many scientists, and I'm sure you might have gathered some new knowledge about many new scientists also. So do let me know how did you like this episode. I'm sure you are liking this Once Upon a Time series. Well, that's my opinion. I would love to know about your opinion also. For all the updates and latest episodes of my podcast, please visit www.pharmacologydifficult.com, where you can also sign up for a free monthly e-newsletter of mine. It actually contains a lot of updates about medical sciences, drug information updates, and my podcast updates also. You can follow me on different social media handles like Twitter, Insta, Facebook, and LinkedIn. They all are with the same name, is Pharmacology Difficult. If you're listening for the first time, do subscribe and follow whatever platform you are consuming this episode. Stay tuned. Do rate and review on iTunes, Apple Podcast. Stay safe, stay happy, stay enlightened. Thank you.